Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going deep into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
A classic.
For sure. We're going to break down those habits, pull out those golden nuggets you marked, and really see how we can apply them.
Sounds good. You know, it's amazing how relevant this book still is. It's like a touchstone for anyone looking to up their game.
It's true. And it's not just about, checking off habits on a list. It's about the why behind them, right? Like
Okay.
that story with the author's son struggling in school and baseball.
Right.
He tried everything, but it backfired.
It's easy to relate to that feeling of wanting to fix things for our kids.
Totally. Like our usual parenting playbook just goes out the window.
And that's where the idea of paradigms comes in, right? Sometimes it's not about trying harder, but seeing things differently.
Like, are we even using the right map?
Exactly. Like if you're navigating a new city with an outdated map, you're going to get lost.
And that brings up our human tendency to want those quick fixes.
Oh, yeah. The magic pill solution.
Exactly. But as the author points out, those rarely work long term.
It's like trying to cram for a farming exam, right?
Yeah,
You can memorize steps, but you can't rush the growth of a plant.
you got it. Real lasting change is deeper than that.
It's that shift from a personality ethic to a character ethic, focusing on who we are, not just what we do.
So less about surface level techniques, more about inner principles.
Exactly. It's that inside-out approach this book is known for.
So building inner strength first.
Yes. It's like you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Right.
You have to take care of yourself to truly show up for others.
Private victories precede public victories. The author nailed it with that one.
It's a process. Like, think about a baby learning to walk.
Okay, yeah.
They're dependent at first, then they gain independence. But true effectiveness, the kind that lets us achieve big things, lies in interdependence.
Recognizing we need each other.
Yes. It's a higher level of
If
maturity.
you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I love that.
Yeah.
And getting to that interdependence takes self-awareness, for sure. Like the author trying to teach his daughter about sharing right on her birthday.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He had good intentions, but his timing, not so much.
It backfired. She wasn't ready for that lesson.
Exactly. We can't force interdependence.
It's got to come from within. Okay, so speaking of coming from within, we get to habit 1, being proactive. This one really resonated with you.
Such a powerful habit.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting stuff done, It's deeper than that.
So it's more than just like having a to-do list and checking things off.
Way more. It's about recognizing we have a choice in how we respond to anything life throws at us,
Even when things are really tough.
especially then. You highlighted Viktor Frankl's story.
Finding meaning in a concentration camp.
Yeah. Unbelievable resilience. He could have easily given up, but he chose to focus on what he could control.
Yeah.
His thoughts, his actions.
That's the essence of proactivity.
Right there. It's about shifting from things happen to me to I choose my response.
We're not denying reality, but we're taking ownership.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly liberating. Remember the circles of influence and concern?
Oh, yeah, that visual really stuck with me.
So powerful. That big circle, that's our circle of concern, right? All the stuff we worry about but can't really control. World hunger, the economy, you name it.
But the circle of influence, that's where the action is, the things we can actually impact.
Yes. Proactive people, they focus their energy there, always looking for ways to expand that circle. Reactive people, they stay stuck in that outer circle, blaming, complaining, letting things control them.
So, like, instead of stressing about the weather, focus on watering your own garden.
Love that analogy. And speaking of language, you highlighted the haves versus the bees.
Oh, yeah, how our words shape our reality.
For sure. When we use have language, if only I had more time, we're giving away our power.
Playing the victim card.
But be language, I can be more organized, I can be more present. That's empowering.
We become active participants in our own lives.
Exactly. And you brought up the story of Joseph from the Old Testament.
Talk about a guy who had every reason to be bitter.
Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned.
You name it, he went through it.
But he focused on his character. He chose to be trustworthy, to be diligent. And because of that, he rose to a position of power.
His character shined through.
And it's a great example of how, even when we can't control our circumstances, we can control our response.
We can choose our attitude.
And that leads to taking responsibility for our choices.
Which can be tough.
No doubt. Remember the author's analogy of the train.
Oh yeah, we're free to jump in front of it, but
You can't choose the consequences.
our choices have natural consequences, good or bad.
Owning our mistakes is key.
Not to beat ourselves up, but to learn from them.
Exactly. And that brings us to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. You call this living by design, not by default.
Love that. It's about not just drifting through life.
Exactly. It's about consciously creating the life we want, not just reacting to whatever comes our way.
Like planning a trip, right?
Yes. You wouldn't just show up at the airport and hope for the best. You'd have your itinerary, your hotel bookings.
Your dinner reservations.
Exactly. It's the same with life. Having that blueprint, that vision of where you want to go. And you connected this to the author's experience watching Star Wars with his daughter.
Yeah. Even something as familiar as a movie can be seen in a new light.
He thought he knew the movie, but seeing it through her eyes gave him a whole new perspective. It's a good reminder that we can always shift our paradigms,
Even about things we think we know inside and out, which seems like a perfect bridge to habit 3. Put first things first.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. We've got the vision from habit 2. Now how do we make it a reality?
By aligning our actions with our priorities.
We all have the same 24 hours, right? It's about being intentional with how we use them.
Remember that time management matrix with its 4 quadrants?
Okay, yeah, the 4 quadrants.
It's so easy to get stuck in quadrant 1, urgency, importance, deadlines, putting out fires.
Right, it feels productive, but...
The real magic happens in quadrant 2, important but not urgent.
Planning, personal development, building relationships, that kind of thing.
It's about prevention rather than cure, like taking care of your health. It might not feel urgent today.
But it pays off in the long run.
Exactly. Or those shopping center owners you mentioned. They shifted their focus from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2.
Oh, right. Instead of just collecting rent, they started investing in their tenants' success.
Building relationships, helping them grow.
And it paid off. Their businesses thrived.
It's about focusing on what matters most, even if it doesn't scream for our attention right now.
Long-term thinking, right. It's not always about the immediate payoff.
And it's not just about managing our own time. It's about empowering others. Delegation.
Sharing the load. We don't have to do it all ourselves.
Right. Trusting others to step up. The author had that funny story about trying to be efficient with his son's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that one. What happened?
He was so focused on getting things done quickly, he missed the chance to really connect with her.
Ouch. Sometimes efficiency isn't the point.
Especially in relationships. We can't just schedule people into our day planners.
Definitely not. So, are we ready to shift gears a bit? Move from independence to interdependence, those public victories.
From the personal to the interpersonal. This is where the real magic of the 7 habits comes in, I think. Building those strong, effective relationships.
But it's not always easy, is it? Relationships can be messy. They take work.
They do. Require vulnerability, putting ourselves out there. But that's where the growth happens, right?
The author talks about that human need for connection. But sometimes we look for it in the wrong places.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to control others, manipulate situations to get our needs met, it never really works.
So we need a different approach.
We need a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
From transactional to transformational.
Instead of just trying to get something, it's about creating something together.
Exactly. And that's the heart of habit 4. Think win-win. It's not just a negotiation tactic.
It's bigger than that.
It's a philosophy, a belief that there's enough to go around.
Abundance, not scarcity.
Exactly. And it starts with understanding the different paradigms of human interaction. We've got win-win, win-lose, lose-win.
Lose-lose. Yeah, we've all seen those play out.
Sadly, so many of us are conditioned for win-lose early on, competing for everything.
It starts young, for sure.
And that scarcity mindset can stick with us. But the good news, we can choose a different paradigm.
Choose collaboration over competition, which takes us right to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
This one's huge. We spend years learning to read, write, speak.
But listening.
Most of us haven't had a single class in it.
Yeah.
And it's the key to real understanding, to empathy.
It's more than just waiting for our turn to talk.
It's about really trying to see the world through the other person's eyes.
Putting aside our own judgments, our own agendas.
Being present, being authentic, and being vulnerable enough to share our own experiences.
It creates that safe space for real connection.
And when that happens, we open the door to synergy, habit 6.
Where 1 1 equals 3 or more.
It's about valuing those differences. Those unique perspectives become our strengths.
Like that saying, if 2 people always agree, one of them is unnecessary.
I love that. It's in those respectful disagreements that the real breakthroughs happen.
So synergy requires a high level of inner security.
Absolutely. Knowing our own worth, having that strong sense of self, It comes from practicing those earlier habits, those private victories.
Which leads us to the final habit, habit 7, sharpen the saw.
The never-ending journey.
It's not a finish line, is it?
It's recognizing that personal growth is ongoing.
We've got to take care of ourselves.
Mind, body, and spirit.
Like that image of the saw. If we keep using it without sharpening it,
It becomes dull, ineffective.
we owe it to ourselves and to the people around us to show up as our best selves.
And that requires renewal. Physical, spiritual, mental, social, emotional.
Finding that balance, it's not selfish, it's essential.
Absolutely. It's about creating a life that allows us to thrive, not just survive.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the 7 habits, it's clear this book is more than just a self-help book. It's a guide to living a more meaningful and effective life.
One step at a time.
Exactly. And if you had to pick just one habit, one principle to focus on this week, which one would it be? That's something to think about.
Thanks for letting us join you on this deep dive. Until next time.